Did you know that a Lagos business paying an Accra business doesn't send Naira? It converts to dollars, routes through a bank in London or New York, converts back to cedi, and pays for the privilege twice. For decades, that's been the cost of trading with your own neighbor. That's finally changing. For decades, moving money between two African countries has meant converting into dollars or euros and routing through a Western correspondent bank. Even when neither side of the trade is American or European, every conversion costs something. Every extra hop costs more. Combined fees and currency spreads have run 10 to 30% of the transaction, and transfers that should take minutes could take days, waiting on banks thousands of miles from either side of the deal. That's not a rounding error. On billions of dollars of trade a year, it's a structural tax, paid for the privilege of trading with your own neighbor. The fix was first floated at an African Union summit in Niamey, Niger, in July 2019. 2.5 years later, on January 13, 2022, it went live in Accra, Ghana. It's called the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, PAPSS, built jointly by the African Union and the African Export-Import Bank, AfCFTA, with one specific job: to be the payment plumbing underneath Africa's new continental free trade area. Here's how it actually works. A business pays through its own local bank. That payment routes through its country's central bank to PAPSS, which validates it and forwards it straight to the beneficiary's central bank. The beneficiary is paid in their own local currency. No detour through a third currency. No correspondent bank in London or New York in the middle. Central banks net their positions with each other every day, and AfCFTA stands behind the whole system as settlement guarantor. So the money is there when it's supposed to be. 2 countries, 2 currencies, 1 direct payment. It started with 6 countries in West Africa. By 2023, 10 central banks were connected. By last November, 18. AfCFTA's latest results put PAPSS at 28 African countries, more than 190 commercial banks and fintechs, and 16 payment switches. That's real fast growth. It's also, honestly, still only about half the continent. Put the old way and the new way side by side. Correspondent banking, 10 to 30% gone in fees and spread, and days to clear. PAPSS, under 1% and under 2 minutes. AfCFTA's standing projection is more than $5 billion a year saved across the continent once adoption is full. That number is worth remembering, but it's a projection, a target the system is being built toward, not money that's already been banked. This isn't theoretical. On February 26, 2026, Kenya's Pesalink, the country's instant domestic payment network, more than 80 banks, fintechs, savings co-ops, and telcos, connected directly into PAPSS's network of more than 160 commercial banks. As of that day, an ordinary Kenyan business or someone using mobile money can send a payment across an African border instantly, settled in local currency, 24 hours a day. And PAPSS isn't standing still. In July 2025, it launched something further still. The African Currency Marketplace, built with the African tech firm Interstellar. It's a live order book platform where a business can trade Nigerian Naira directly for Ghanaian Cedi or Kenyan shillings directly for South African Rand. No hard currency touching the transaction at any point. It's the same problem, attacked from the other direction. Instead of just settling payments in local currency, letting African currencies trade against each other directly. Here's the market this sits inside. The African Continental Free Trade Area covers all 55 African Union states, 1.4 billion people, a combined GDP near $3.4 trillion. Intra-African trade hit an estimated $220 billion in 2024. But that's still only around 15% of Africa's total trade. Compare that to roughly 65 to 70% for the European Union, or 60% across Asia. That gap, not the $3.4 trillion headline, is the actual size of the opportunity that payment infrastructure like PAPSS exists to close. So who actually benefits? For investors, it's a market still closing a 15-point gap with Europe's own trade levels. Real runway, still mostly unclaimed. For an ordinary trader, it's simpler. Fees that used to eat up to 30%, cut to under 1%. Money that stays in your business, not in a foreign bank's spread. None of this is finished. 28 of 55 African Union states is real progress. It is not full coverage, and several of the continent's largest economies aren't confirmed on the network yet. Regulatory rules and currency liquidity still vary sharply from country to country. That $5 billion savings figure is still a projection, not a number that's been realized. And connecting a central bank to PAPSS is a necessary first step. It is not proof that meaningful volume is actually flowing through it yet. This is landing in a loaded moment. Since late 2024, the US president has repeatedly threatened 100% tariffs on any country that creates or backs a new currency to replace the dollar as the world's reserve currency. But be precise about what PAPSS actually is. It doesn't touch the dollar's role in Africa's trade with the rest of the world, and it isn't a new reserve currency of any kind. It's a fix for something narrower and frankly more mundane, a needless currency detour on trade between African neighbors. A project that predates this political moment by 5 years. The real story here isn't a dramatic break from the dollar. It's plumbing, boring, unglamorous, unfinished plumbing that could quietly save African businesses billions and make trading with your own neighbor cheaper than trading with a stranger overseas. Whether that promise holds comes down to one thing. Does the money actually route through it at scale once the headlines have moved on? Verified, sourced, and worth watching closely. Subscribe to African Market Network for more deep dives like this one. Is Africa actually closing its trade gap, or just building the pipes for later? Tell us in the comments.